Alright, welcome to Unit 5. Now we're going to talk about the difference between a strong and a weak acid and base. Eventually we'll get to a list of what they are, but for now we're just going to go with what does the term strong acid mean. Not quite what you probably think it means. Acids and bases are classified as strong or weak based on the degree to which they ionize, not on how corrosive they are. Now, that means that a strong acid may corrode, but it also may not corrode. You can have a strong acid that won't burn your face off. Probably will, to be honest, but it may not. So we'll talk about that. The corrosiveness of acids, meaning how quickly they'll burn a hole through your arm, because that's what most kids are interested in, depends on the substance they react with, not necessarily on the acid itself. I can have something that will burn through your skin, but it will not burn through something else. And that means that acid cannot be reliably corrosive. It is not always corrosive, and thus, if it's only sometimes, we can't say it's always corrosive, and we also can't say it's not. We don't categorize them by how corrosive. We categorize it, by how much it dissociates. So a strong acid or base is an acid or base that is completely ionized in solution. In other words, a strong electrolyte. We just learned about these. So if we have a strong acid, that means it's a strong electrolyte. Vice versa, if we have a strong electrolyte and we know it's an acid, then it's a strong acid. We indicate reactions with strong acids by using a forward arrow instead of a double arrow. For example, hydrochloric acid would be H plus and Cl minus. Now, one thing you'll find is that if the reaction that you're interested in figuring out how fast the acid will lead through, if it only depends on the concentration of hydrogen, then yes, you can say that every strong acid will corrode faster. And that's actually true for a lot of things, but there are many reactions where the rate at which the acid eats through it is not based on the hydrogen. So please keep in mind that strong acids do not necessarily mean corrosive acids. And again, they may sometimes, but that's just not what we classify them by. Okay, and a weak acid is one that only slightly ionizes, which again is a weak electrolyte. So again, keep in mind they still ionize. They just don't do as much. And a reaction with a weak acid will typically be indicated using a double arrow, because an actual equilibrium is established where some of the acid remains unreacted, and so it's dissociating, but some of the things that dissociate kind of come back and form an old acid. For example, technically hydrogen fluoride, I mentioned this before, we'd write it like this. What you look into it is basically 100% of all strong acids will dissociate, like all of it. Actually close to like 13% or less of weak acids will dissociate, which means most of the acid really actually won't be dissociating. So it means breaking apart. But there you go. That's actually a definition of strong and weak acids and bases. So again, they're not by corrosiveness. They're how much they dissociate. It basically comes down to how strong of an electrolyte they are. Thanks for watching.